We are going to pick up in Chapter 1 with multiplying polynomials. If you feel you are confident with simplifying and multiplying these polynomials, fast forward to the solutions at the end of each question to confirm if you got the answer correct. So I recommend now you pause the video and work through them on your own and see if you can get the same answers that we get. If you don't feel as confident with solving these on your own, watch the video, take notes, and we will be going over a good number of these in class together. So our first question is y squared plus 2y times y to the third minus 2y squared plus 1. Realize it's just like when you FOIL, only now you want to distribute the first term with each of the terms of the second polynomial, and then the second term with each of the terms in the second polynomial. So I'm going to write it out. You don't always have to write it out, but write it out if you need to. So it's y squared with y to the third, y squared with 2y, but now you're going to add it. And be mindful that the negative 2y squared has a negative, so don't forget that. And then the y squared with the 1. Then we add it 2y with y to the third, 2y with negative 2y squared, and then 2y with 1. And now we simplify. You're going to use your laws of exponents to get your answer. And for the first one, we get y to the fifth. For the second one, it becomes a negative 2y to the fourth. For the third one, you get y squared. For the fourth term, you get 2y to the fourth. The fifth term, no, it's a negative 2, so it becomes a negative 4y to the third. And the last term is 2y. And then you look to see if there's any terms that are the same, that can be combined. So there's no other y to the fifths in here, so y to the fifth stays. Let's look for 4s. I have a fourth power here and a fourth power here. So I have negative 2y to the fourth and positive 2y to the fourth. So that goes to 0. The next degree would be a third, and that's negative 4y to the third. And then I have the square term, plus y squared, and then plus 2. So the final answer is y to the fifth minus 4y to the third plus y squared plus 2. Let's look at our next example. The next example gives you y plus 3 times 2y minus 5 minus 2 times 3y minus 2 times y plus 2. So when you answer this question, FOIL the first two parentheses, FOIL the last two parentheses. This 2 will get distributed into the result of that FOILing. So be careful that you don't put the 2 in till later. You can put it in sooner if you wanted to just put it in with this binomial, but that's not how I'm going to do it. So let's work through the first binomial. I'm going to FOIL it. So I'm going to get y times 2y is 2y squared. Y times negative 5 is negative 5y. 3 times 2y is 6y. And 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Minus 2. And then when I FOIL the last group, 3y times y is 3y squared. 3y times 2 is 6y. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. And negative 2 times 2 is plus 4. Notice that this parentheses is very important, so that way this negative 2 in front gets distributed into this parentheses. It is not going to be combined with the numbers before it, so that is not going to happen. I'm going to simplify this parentheses first because I do have like terms, and I'm going to simplify these two like terms here. So I get 2y squared plus y, negative 5y plus 6y is positive 1y. Minus 15, do not combine them because this 2 is being multiplied with that parentheses. So minus 2, 3y squared, the 6y and the minus 2y gives me a positive 4y plus 4. Now distribute the 2 in. So I get 2y squared plus y minus 15 minus 6y squared minus 8y minus 8. And then you look for like terms. We have these y squared terms here. So that's a positive 2 and a minus 6 gives you a minus 4y squared. We have these y terms here, so 1y minus 8y is minus 7y. And then we have negative 15 and negative 8. Negative 15 and negative 8 is negative 23. And so this is your final answer. Our next question doesn't completely show you that it's a binomial times a binomial, but you have to realize that when you have a square, that means you take your two binomials and you write them next to each other. So you see that it's a product of two binomials. Because upon first glance, people think, oh, I'm going to put the 2 with each, and that is totally not what you're going to do. So don't even do that. I'm going to take those lines off there. So you want to FOIL this now the way you would have done it any other way. So it becomes x squared times x squared. I'm just going to write out each term. So x squared times x squared plus x squared with y squared plus y squared with x squared plus y squared with y squared. X squared and x squared is x to the 4th. X squared, y squared can't be combined, but notice that y squared, x squared, and x squared, y squared are the same thing. So I'm going to rewrite that term so it looks the same. And y squared is y to the 4th. These two can be combined, and you get x to the 4th plus 2x squared, y squared plus y to the 4th. And that's your answer. Okay, next question, very similar. Only now, instead of it being a plus between the two terms, you have a minus, so it's a difference. Let's just fix this here. Okay, so now we're going to FOIL this again. So you get x squared times x squared plus x squared times a negative y squared plus negative y squared times x squared. And then negative y squared and negative y squared gives me a positive y. I jumped the gun here to the 4th. So this becomes x to the 4th. This becomes negative x squared y squared. The same thing, negative x squared y squared. And that's y to the 4th. These can be combined, so I get x to the 4th minus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th. And that's my final answer. In this example, notice that it combines the two previous examples. So x squared plus y squared, if we look at the example 3, was x to the 4th plus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th. Minus, now you have to put the whole result in parentheses. X squared minus y squared squared became x to the 4th minus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th. Just check to make sure those numbers are the same thing for example 3 and example 4. Now this minus sign here means you're going to change the sign inside those parentheses. So it becomes x to the 4th plus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th minus x to the 4th plus 2x squared y squared minus y to the 4th. Notice how all the signs changed. Now, look for like terms. X to the 4th minus x to the 4th goes to 0. 2x squared y squared plus 2x squared y squared becomes 4x squared y squared. And then plus y to the 4th minus y to the 4th is 0. So your final answer is 4x squared y squared. Remember, when you also have like terms, you would just add the coefficients in front. The exponents on the variables stay the same.